The sky over Los Angeles was a strange mix of orange and gray. At sunset, the city usually glowed with light and motion. But today, it was smoke. Thick, rising smoke. Arcadia Tower stood tall in the middle of downtown, a symbol of modern power and technology. It was the home of NovaCore Technologies, one of the most advanced AI companies in the world. The tower had smart windows, flying delivery drones, and fireproof glass. But no one expected today's disaster. Inside the fire station. Just a few blocks away, the alert sirens wailed loudly. Firefighter Ethan Cole looked up from his meal, dropped his fork, and ran with his team to the trucks. Massive fire in Arcadia Tower, the captain called out. Possible drone explosion. People trapped on floors 42 to 50. We move now. Ethan grabbed his gear, oxygen tank, helmet, and heat-resistant suit and climbed into Engine 7. The truck raced through the streets, weaving between cars as lights flashed and horns blared. He had seen fires before, but something about this one felt different. When they reached the tower, the sight was terrifying. A section of the building had collapsed. Broken glass rained down like sharp snow. Sparks flew from shattered drone engines, and flames climbed up the side of the tower like orange snakes. Ethan and his team moved fast. The heat was intense. The smart systems of the building had failed. Sprinklers weren't working. Emergency exits were locked due to system errors. Something had gone seriously wrong. Inside the smoky stairwell, Ethan climbed flight after flight. Heart pounding, legs burning. His team followed close behind. At floor 45. They broke open the door and found frightened people huddled near windows, coughing and panicking. The team began leading them down, one group at a time. Ethan stayed back to check deeper into the hallway. Just when he was about to turn back, he heard a faint voice. Double quotes, help. Someone. He followed the sound and found a woman trapped behind a collapsed wall of glass and steel. Her smart dress was torn, and her long dark hair was covered in ash. Her left arm was bleeding slightly, but she was conscious. Ethan moved fast. He cleared the debris, helped her out, and gave her his oxygen mask for a moment. Are you okay? He asked. She nodded slowly. I'm Selena Voss, she said. Ethan paused. Selena Voss? The CEO of NovaCore? The woman behind half the smart systems in the city? No time to explain, he said. We need to get you out now. The hallway behind them suddenly burst into flame. Ethan pulled her close, shielding her with his gear as they ran down the corridor. The floor shook as something exploded above them. Smoke filled every corner. Step by step, breath by breath, he led her through the darkness. When they finally reached the stairwell, his team was already helping others down. She's coming with me, Ethan shouted. He didn't wait for permission. Holding her hand tightly, he led her down the endless stairs, checking her breathing every few floors. She was strong, even in pain. She never cried or complained. She just held on. Finally, they reached the exit. Bright lights flashed, and emergency workers ran forward. As they stepped out into the street, cameras clicked. Reporters gasped. Selena looked at Ethan, her eyes soft but focused. You saved me. Ethan removed his helmet, sweat pouring down his face. Just doing my job. But something passed between them in that moment. A spark not made of fire, but of something warmer. And while the fire still burned behind them, something new had quietly begun. The fire was under control by midnight. Dozens were injured, some were still missing, but thanks to the firefighters, hundreds were saved. Arcadia Tower, once a symbol of pride, now stood broken. Its top floors dark and quiet. Ethan sat on the back of the fire truck, sipping a bottle of water. His arms were sore, his legs tired, but his mind was awake. Images of the fire replayed in his head, the falling beams, the heat, the thick smoke. But most of all, he remembered her face, Selena Voss. the CEO of Novacor, one of the richest and most powerful people in the city. He never expected to meet someone like her, especially not in the middle of a burning building. She had been calm, even while surrounded by danger. Strong, but not cold. Brave, but not careless. "She's still here," said his teammate Leo. Pointing toward a group of medics, Ethan looked and saw her. Selena was sitting quietly on a bench, wrapped in a silver emergency blanket. A doctor checked her arm, while 2 bodyguards spoke to police officers nearby. Her face was pale, but her eyes scanned the crowd as if she was already thinking 10 steps ahead. He didn't expect her to look his way, but she did. Their eyes met. Then unexpectedly, she stood. "Up. Wait," Ethan said. Standing too. Selena walked straight toward him, the blanket falling from her shoulders. Her dress was torn and covered in ash, but she still looked like she belonged in a business magazine. "Ethan Cole," she said softly. He blinked. "You know my name?" She nodded. "I asked the captain. I wanted to thank you properly." "You don't have to," he replied. "It's part of the job." She smiled slightly. Not many people would run back into a burning hallway for someone they didn't know. Ethan scratched the back of his head, a little embarrassed. "Well, I'm glad you're okay." "I owe you more than just thanks," she said. "Please, let me take you to dinner or lunch, whenever you're free." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You want to have dinner with a firefighter?" "I want to have dinner with someone who saved my life," she said simply. "And someone who didn't care about who I was, only that I was in danger." He hesitated, unsure what to say. He wasn't used to this kind of attention. Usually, after a rescue, people just said, "Thank you," and moved on. But this was different. Before he could answer, her assistant came over, whispering something about news crews and a board meeting. Selena turned back to Ethan. "I know this is sudden, but if you're okay with it, I'll send you a message, just once. If you don't reply, I'll understand." He nodded slowly. "All right, one message." She smiled, then walked away with her team. As she stepped into her car, she gave him one. Last glanced out the next morning, Ethan's name was all over the news. Hero firefighter saves Novacor CEO. Videos of him carrying Selena through smoke-filled halls played on every screen. His phone buzzed with messages from people he hadn't heard from in years. At the station, his captain teased him. "You're famous now, Cole. Don't let it go to your head." Ethan just laughed. "It'll fade in a week." But it didn't. Later that day, he got a message from Selena Voss. It was simple. "Hi, Ethan. Still owe you that dinner. Selena." He stared at the message for a long moment, then smiled to himself. Something unusual had started. Not just a rescue, not just a thank you. Something more. The fire was out, but the city still felt its heat. News channels kept showing the burning tower, the explosion, and Ethan's brave rescue. Everyone had an opinion. Some called it an accident. Others whispered about a system failure. A few even said it might have been sabotage. Ethan didn't care much about the media. After the first few interviews, he stopped answering calls. He didn't like being in the spotlight. Fame made him uncomfortable. He was just a firefighter doing his job. Something else kept his attention. The message from Selena Voss. He didn't reply right away. He wasn't sure what to say. He wasn't used to texting powerful CEOs. Still, something about her message felt real, like she wasn't trying to impress anyone. "Just connect." Finally, 2 days later, he replied, "Dinner sounds good. I'm free this Friday." She answered within minutes, 7 p.m. "I'll send a car. Dress casual, no reporters, just you and me." On Friday night, Ethan stood in front of a sleek black car parked outside his apartment. The driver opened the door, and he stepped in, feeling both nervous and curious. They didn't go to a 5-star restaurant. Instead, the car drove him to a quiet rooftop garden on the edge of the city. It was peaceful, away from the noise and flashing lights. There were small tables, flowers, and soft music playing in the background. Selena was already there, dressed. In a simple blouse and jeans, no cameras, no meetings. Just her. "You look surprised," she said with a smile. "I expected something fancier," he replied honestly. "I get enough of that during the week," she said. "I just wanted to breathe tonight and talk." They sat under the stars and shared a quiet meal. At first, they talked about the fire, what happened, and how he managed to find her. But soon, the conversation changed. They spoke about childhood. Memories. Ethan talked about growing up in a small house, watching his dad fix broken engines, and dreaming of becoming a firefighter since he was 10. Selena spoke of her lonely childhood in big schools, always surrounded by smart machines but missing real friendships. "You know," she said, stirring her drink, "people think I have everything, but sometimes I feel like I don't have anyone." Ethan looked at her gently. "You seemed calm during the fire." "Most people would panic," she nodded. "I was scared, but when you pulled me out, I felt something I haven't felt in years. Safe." There was silence for a moment, not awkward, just peaceful. Selena leaned back and looked up at the sky. "Do you believe everything happens for a reason?" Ethan thought for a moment. "I don't know. But sometimes, out of something bad, something good shows up." She smiled. "Like meeting you?" He chuckled softly. "Maybe." As the evening continued, laughter came more easily. They talked about favorite foods, movies, and the strange things they had seen on the job, her with wild tech accidents, him with weird rescue calls. When it was time to leave, Selena walked him back to the car. "I'm glad you said yes," she said. "Me too," Ethan replied. "Didn't expect this night to be so normal." "Normal is rare for me," she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "But tonight was perfect." As the car drove him home, Ethan stared out at the city lights. Something had changed. Something real had started between them. It wasn't just about the rescue anymore. It was about two people from different worlds, slowly stepping into each other's lives. And neither of them wanted to walk away. A week passed since Ethan and Selena had dinner on the rooftop garden. The city moved fast, but something quiet and steady had begun between them. They started texting more often. At first, it was short messages, small jokes, updates, good mornings. But soon, they were sharing real thoughts. Ethan would message after his shift, and Selena would write during breaks between meetings. Despite their different lives, they understood each other. One lived by action, the other by ideas. But both knew the weight of responsibility. One afternoon, Selena sent a message that felt different. "Can you come by my office tonight? Need to talk about something. It's important." Ethan replied, "Sure, what's going on? Hard to explain over text. Just come. Please." That evening, Ethan arrived at the temporary NovaCore office, set up inside a smaller building while Arcadia Tower was being repaired. Security was tight, but Selena had already cleared him. A staff member led him through glass halls and glowing panels until they reached her private lab. Inside, it was quiet. Blue screens lit the room. Selena stood near a large digital display, looking focused and a little tense. "Hey," Ethan said. She turned, her eyes softening. "Thanks for coming. What's wrong?" he asked. Selena walked over and handed him a tablet. "This is part of the fire report from our internal system. I didn't show this to anyone yet, not even the police." Ethan looked at the screen. It showed a pattern of data logs from the night of the fire. At first, he didn't understand. Then he saw something strange. The fire suppression systems didn't just fail. They were shut off, manually, from inside. "You think someone did this on purpose?" he asked, surprised. Selena nodded. "Yes, and I think it was someone inside NovaCore." Ethan stepped back. "That's serious. Do you have proof?" "Not yet, just pieces, but this She tapped the screen. This was coded by someone who knew how to control our system without being noticed. "Why tell me?" he asked. "Shouldn't you report it?" "I will," she said. "But I don't know who I can trust right now. The person behind this might be close. Someone in the board, someone watching everything I do." Ethan crossed his arms. "You think they were trying to hurt you?" Selena looked at him. "I don't know. Maybe I was the target. Or maybe they wanted to bring down NovaCore." The room fell silent. Then Ethan asked, "What do you want me to do?" "I don't know," she said honestly. "I just didn't want to be alone with this." Ethan nodded slowly. "You're not alone." She looked at him, and for a moment, her strong CEO expression faded. She looked like someone just trying to make sense of a storm. "Thank you," she whispered. He stepped closer. "You've got people who believe in you. I'm one of them." Their eyes met. There was no fire, no danger, just quiet truth. Selena reached out, touching his hand gently. For a long moment, neither of them said a word. Then Selena took a breath. "And let go. I'll keep digging. I just needed you to know." "I'm here," Ethan said. "Whatever you need." Later that night, Ethan walked home under the city lights, thinking deeply. The fire was no accident. And now he was part of something bigger than he expected, but he didn't feel fear. He felt ready, because something had started between him and Selena, and inside himself. Not just a rescue, not just a spark, something strong, something worth protecting. The next few days felt heavier for Selena. She went to meetings, gave calm speeches, and smiled for the media, but inside, she was troubled. The data from the night of the fire was clear. Someone had turned off the safety systems. Someone inside NovaCore. She didn't trust many people. Her assistant was loyal, but even that wasn't enough now. So she kept the secret between only two people, herself and Ethan. Ethan checked in every day, sometimes with a short message, sometimes with a call. "Anything new?" "Not yet. Still looking." One evening, Selena finally found a break-in. The code. It came from a hidden access point inside NovaCore's old AI testing lab. That lab hadn't been used in years, but someone had activated it 2 hours before the fire. She immediately sent a message. "Ethan, found something. Can you meet me tonight?" Ethan arrived at the quiet building after midnight. The streets were empty. A soft breeze moved through the shadows of the city. Selena waited inside, near a dim console in the back room. She wore a plain black coat, her hair tied back, her face serious. "I traced the signal," she said as he stepped in. "It came from this room, this exact console." Ethan looked around. The room was old, dusty, and dark. A few loose wires hung from the ceiling, and a broken screen flickered on one wall. Selena showed him the code logs. Someone used this system to access the fire controls. But look at the name attached. Ethan read the screen. The name made him frown. "James Wynn? He's the head of robotics," Selena explained. "Worked for NovaCore for 12 years. Always quiet. Always on time. Never caused trouble. Why would he do this?" Ethan asked. Selena shook her head. "I don't know. But I think he wanted the fire to look like an accident, to make it seem like the AI system failed. That would hurt NovaCore's image and drop our market value. Maybe he's working for a rival company?" Ethan suggested. "Maybe," Selena said. "Or maybe he wants to take over the company from the inside." They both stared at the screen, the room silent. Ethan finally said, "What's your plan?" "I need to gather more proof," Selena replied. "I can't go to the police yet. If James finds out, he might destroy the rest of the evidence." Ethan looked at her closely. "You're putting yourself in danger." She smiled slightly. "So are you. I'm used to it," he said. "But you're the one walking into fire this time." Selena nodded. "Then maybe I need a firefighter by my side." For a moment, they shared a quiet laugh. But it faded quickly. because they both knew this was serious. Very serious. The next day, Selena called for a private meeting with James Wynn. She told no one else. Just her and him. Ethan waited nearby in case anything went wrong. The meeting was short. James smiled too much, answered every question too quickly. When Selena mentioned the old lab, his eyes twitched, but only for a second. He was hiding something. As he left the room, Selena nodded toward Ethan, who had been watching through a side door. "He knows we're close," she whispered. "But he doesn't know what we have yet," Ethan replied. That night they met again at the same rooftop garden. The city lights blinked below them, quiet and calm. But above, stars watched their silent plan form. "We have to move carefully," Selena said. "And we have to trust each other." Ethan looked into her eyes. "I already do." Their hands touched for a moment, just enough to feel the strength there. Not fear, not doubt, but trust, and a growing fire neither of them could ignore. The next morning, the city woke up to a surprise headline. Novacore insider confesses to sabotage. CEO Selena Voss takes action. The news spread fast. Some people were shocked. Others had guessed something was wrong. Investors were nervous. But many praised Selena for her courage. Inside her office, Selena sat by the large glass window, watching the city below. Her shoulders felt lighter, but her mind was not at peace. Ronan was behind bars now, and his data drive was in police hands. But there were still questions. Who helped him? Was the rival company planning something worse? Ethan stood beside her, hands in his jacket pockets. He had stayed all night, just in case something else went wrong. "You should rest," he said. Softly. Selena shook her head. "This isn't over yet." "You're right," Ethan replied. "But you don't have to do this alone anymore." She looked at him, her eyes calm but serious. "I don't want to." Before they could speak more, her assistant rushed in. "Selena, I'm sorry, but we just got an alert. A system breach. It's in the satellite office's mainframe. Someone is trying to erase the fire records." Selena stood up fast. "How long ago?" 2 minutes, the assistant said. "Our tech team is trying to block it now." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Someone's cleaning up the mess before it leads to them." Selena grabbed her tablet. "We're going down there." Inside the satellite office's server room, alarms blinked red. Data on screens moved faster than the human eye could follow. Code lines flashed and vanished. Tech staff worked hard, typing fast and shouting instructions. Selena stepped forward. "Is the breach coming from outside?" "No," her head technician said. "It's coming from inside the building." Enfin looked around. "Which floor?" The tech pointed at the screen. "Sublevel 2, Selena turned to Ethan. "Let's go." They took the stairs, moving quickly. The lower floors were darker and quieter. The lights flickered and the air felt heavy, as if something wasn't right. At Sublevel 2, the hallway was empty. Only one door was open. Server room 3. Ethan stepped inside first. "Stay close." Inside the room stood a single man wearing a black cap and gloves, typing into a console. He turned as they entered. His face was unfamiliar to Ethan, but Selena recognized him immediately. "Calvin Reese," she said, her voice sharp. "I fired you 3 years ago." Calvin smiled slightly. "Yes, and you were right, but your enemies pay better." Ethan moved forward, step away from the console. Calvin's hand moved to a small device in his pocket. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." Ethan stopped, his eyes steady. "What's in your hand?" "Emergency virus key," Calvin replied. "One click and your entire company's records disappear." Selena stepped beside Ethan. "Why? What do you gain?" Calvin's smile faded. "Revenge. You built a world that only works for people like you. I was just trying to survive." Selena took a deep breath. "You're wrong. I built a world that gives people chances. You just chose the wrong path." Suddenly, Ethan lunged forward, grabbing Calvin's wrist before he could press the key. The two struggled for a moment, but Ethan was stronger. The device hit the floor with a soft clack. Selena picked it up and shut it off. Security arrived moments later and took Calvin away, back upstairs. The tech team confirmed no data was lost. The fire records were safe. Ronan's connection to Calvin was also found: emails, hidden payments, and shared codes. Selena sat down, finally letting out a long breath. "It's over," she whispered. Ethan sat beside her. "You sure?" She nodded. "For now." He smiled. "Then maybe it's time for that second dinner." She laughed softly. "I think we've earned it." And as the sun set over the city once again, the danger behind them began to fade. But what remained between them, respect, care, trust only, grew stronger, and something close to love was now quietly taking root. 2 days after Calvin's arrest, Selena noticed something strange. Her personal emails were being mirrored. Her phone began to lag. Cameras outside her home shifted positions without her command. Someone was watching her, again. Selena immediately called Ethan. "I don't feel safe," she whispered. Without asking questions, Ethan came straight to her. They left her main residence in the city and drove out in his old pickup truck to a quiet mountain cabin, one he used during wildfire training years ago. No drones, no cameras, just trees, wind, and peace. Inside the cabin, Selena finally sat down and let herself breathe. "Is this really your place?" she asked, surprised by its warmth. "Used to be," Ethan replied, putting wood in the small fireplace. "No tech here. Just silence and safety." They stayed there for days. Selena used an offline laptop to review files, and Ethan guarded the perimeter. Though there was no real danger now, both of them knew this wasn't just about the fire anymore. This was about secrets, trust, and the people behind Novacor's fall. At night, they sat on the porch, looking at the stars. Selena spoke quietly. "I've always been busy building the future, but now I'm just learning how to live in the present." Ethan smiled. "And how's that going?" She looked at him and said softly, "Better, with you around." There was silence, warm and comfortable. Ethan hesitated, then gently took her hand. "Selena," he said, "I didn't expect this. Any of it, but I'm glad it happened, because it brought me to you." Selena squeezed his hand, a small smile on her lips. "I feel the same." The next morning, Ethan received a call from his firefighter captain. "You need to get back." "Ethan, something's happening. Novacor's board is meeting. Someone's trying to take over." Selena's eyes widened. "It's happening sooner than I thought." They packed quickly and left the cabin, heading back to the city. They weren't just running anymore. They were returning to fight, because the truth was clear now. Someone wanted Novacor for themselves. Selena wasn't going to let them win. The Novacor boardroom was filled with tension. 10 members sat at the long glass table. Some looked nervous. Others looked ready for a battle. Selena stood at one end, calm but firm. Ethan stood nearby, quiet, watching everything. On the large screen behind her, she displayed the evidence. Calvin's confession, Ronan's code logs, payments from rival tech firms, and proof of a planned internal takeover. "This wasn't an accident," she told the board. "It was planned from within. You trusted the wrong people, but now I'm showing you the truth." One of the older board members, Mr. Dalman, narrowed his eyes. "Selena, even if this is true, our company has suffered. We may not recover." "We will recover," she said clearly. "But not by hiding. By standing up." A younger member stood. "We support you. But we need a public announcement. We need to show the world what really happened." Selena nodded. "Agreed, and I'll do it myself." That afternoon, the city watched as Selena stood before the press. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. She spoke clearly. There was an attempt to take over Novacor by dishonest people. We have the proof, and the people responsible are being handed over to the authorities. NovaCore stands for trust, safety, and truth. That is what we will rebuild." Behind the scenes, Ethan watched with pride. She was no longer just a CO. She was a fighter. After the speech, Selena walked back to him. "It's done," she whispered. "You did it," Ethan said. "No," she replied, smiling softly. "We did." They walked out together, hand in hand. As the sun began to set over the city, the storm had passed, but something beautiful had begun. And neither of them would face the future alone. 3 weeks had passed since Selena's public speech. NovaCore had survived the storm. The city was no longer buzzing with scandal. The headlines had changed. New companies, new technology, and new distractions filled people's screens. But for Selena and Ethan, life had slowed down, and in a good way. The company was rebuilding. The board had voted to keep Selena as CEO. Her leadership during the crisis had earned deep respect. But she had made one important decision. She was stepping back from the spotlight, not quitting, just shifting. She wanted time to breathe, to live, and to feel. One warm evening, as the sun dipped behind the Los Angeles skyline, Ethan stood outside a small coffee shop near the beach. He wore a clean shirt and jeans, his firefighter badge tucked inside his wallet. Selena arrived moments later, wearing a simple white dress and a calm smile. "You look relaxed," Ethan said with a grin. "I feel relaxed," she replied. They walked along the shore together, barefoot, shoes in hand. The waves whispered, and the wind was soft. "So," Ethan began, "no guards, no assistants, no AI drones today?" Selena laughed. "Just me." "I like that version of you," he said. She glanced at him. "Do you ever miss the quiet life you had before all this?" Ethan thought for a second. "Sometimes, but I wouldn't change anything. If none of this happened, I might never have met you." She looked at him, her expression full of emotion. "That day, in the fire, I thought everything was over. But instead, something new started." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, funny how life works." They stopped near a large rock and sat down, watching the waves roll in and out. "I've been thinking," Selena said after a pause. "I spent years building things, machines, systems, a company. But I forgot to build something for myself." Ethan looked at her. "And what do you want to build now?" She smiled slowly. "A life that matters. A life with meaning. And maybe with someone who reminds me what real strength is." Ethan reached for her hand and held it gently. "I'm not a fancy guy," he said. "No degrees, no fortune, just a heart that knows how to care." "That's all I need," she whispered. The moment was quiet, simple, and perfect. Later that week, Selena made her decision official. She appointed a trusted team to manage NovaCore's daily work and began a new project, one that focused on human safety and emotional well-being, not just machines. She called it Project Ember, inspired by the fire that changed everything. Ethan, meanwhile, returned to the firehouse but on a part-time basis. He trained new recruits and led safety programs across the city. They didn't rush anything. There were no sudden promises, no public stories. Just quiet dinners, honest talks, and walks by the beach. And with every passing day, their connection grew stronger. One evening, under a sky full of stars, Ethan surprised Selena with a simple picnic on the rooftop of his apartment building. Nothing fancy, just sandwiches, lemonade, and her favorite strawberry cake. As they sat under the stars, Selena looked into his eyes. "You saved my life, Ethan, more than once." He smiled. "You saved mine too, just in a different way." They leaned closer, and finally, their lips met in a soft, quiet kiss. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And in that moment, surrounded by stars and city lights, love found them, not in the middle of chaos, but in the calm after the storm.